There are different views in literature and practice about the purpose and tasks of the DMAC phases. This led to a variety of recommendations about the selection and the position of the tools in the sequence. However, every craftsman should exactly know when to use a drill, for example. Otherwise, this leads to uncertainty, especially for beginners, and endangers the project success. Therefore, we have scientifically substantiated the basis of the Six Sigma projects, clearly delineated the DMAC phases, specified their respective purpose, as well as the application of the tools, their inputs and outputs. This is the basis for our standard toolset of the Sigma Guide with a chronologically clear sequence of the DMAC tools we use in our projects. Every Six Sigma project begins with a problem, and the definition of the problems is the core of the define phase. In the project topic and the project definition of Tony's project, it became already clear that his identified process weakness can be translated into a suitable problem for Six Sigma, and that his project will probably have a benefit. With the SciBox, things continue. The purpose of this list is to define the limits of the project from the first relevant input, which, as a negative influence, X, is likely to trigger the problem Y of the chronologically last output. The project field between these two is typically divided into 6 to 12 core process steps. This includes further inputs and their respective supplier, the activity in the process column, the resulting output and its customer. The second purpose of the SciBox is to identify discrete intermediate outputs and their internal-external customers. This can be achieved if outputs are identified as countable objects and, if possible, described with a noun. In Tony's case, for example, this is the patient who goes through the process in the hospital. The added value of the process can be seen in the sequence of the core process steps by the fact that the status of characteristics of the patient change, from patient ticket to 2 patient reports and finally to the patient treatment. This specification of the development stages of the output, respectively its added attributes during the process, is the challenge applying the SciBox, especially in the case of services. Customers in management are now being surveyed on the relevant outputs to obtain the voice of customer or voice of business. The critical requirements are extracted from their answers and the problems are derived and classified as quality, time-respective quantity or consumption problems. The severity of the problems results from the assigned category of the Kano model and the extent to which the requirements are met. This quantification makes it possible to prioritize the problems and display them, for example, in a bar chart or a dot plot along the Kano characteristics. Since these steps build on each other, we have combined them sequentially in the tool Voice to Critical. From a problem-solving perspective, the define phase is now complete. However, 2 other tools are important for managing the project: the project charter and stakeholder communication. In the project charter, all information available so far is bundled, and in addition the scope is defined, targets agreed, team members named, and the schedule determined. The project charter thus becomes a contract between sponsor, BELT and the team. In the stakeholder communication, we identify possible additional supporters of the project, but also affected persons who may feel disadvantages from the project targets. To gain all forces for the project, a simple plan is drawn up who, in which frequency, by which medium will be informed about the project and possibly involved. In the next part, we will introduce the measure phase of Tony's project. And maybe you'd like to stay with us.